to inform them that we're a serious country and a nation at that, and we're seeking to, attract investors, and we ought to act in manners that should take us very seriously. What is there to celebrate in this? Right, we are under an IMF program, which in and of itself comes with certain conditionalities that are not favorable for our domestic market. Right, going to the IMF in and of itself, we went with our tails in between our legs. So if we had or have been successful with an IMF program and they're asking for a haircut or debt restructuring, which again is not a positive thing because when you default in your payments, that you have to have such a measure in place, which is sort of discounting upon or deferring your outgoings. What is there to celebrate in this, Senna?
But at least in the moment, if you have an agreement with an external creditor, that allows you and gives you some breathing space, perhaps to spend in areas that are productive and to try to kick the economy into, breathe some life into the economy. That should be worth some.
Is that what it is? What breathing space has it given us, and where are we going to put these investments? If they spell that out, I'll be the first to give them a pat on the back. Right. At the end of the day, this is just a vanilla statement that's been issued. And for me, the content-wise, it contains insensitive language. When you say you've had a successful debt restructuring process in terms of the domestic market, we're talking about the blood, sweat, and tears of pensioners that have been asked. Right. So if we've done this and you deem it as successful, I think that is problematic in terms of strategic communication. Right. In the first place, who brought us here? For 7 to 8 years, we've been on the bond market. What have we done with those investments to have an impact on our economy? How has our overstay in the bond market, which was somewhat reckless, reflected on the impacts of our fortunes of our economy? These are the fundamental questions we should be asking, rather than celebrating an IMF framework, which is bound to happen anyway, because they need to have as restructure. They've helped us to do that because it's their interest that happens. So what is in this to celebrate?
Did I hear you say? Is it a vanilla statement? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, what does that mean?
No, I mean content-wise. Okay, what are the terms and conditions of this external restructuring? None at present. That makes it vanilla, right? So we are in the first quarter. Businesses are planning. We're almost getting into the month of February. We'll be heading towards March. So by which time all of these things are firmed up, which is meant to happen anyway, because we're dealing with the IMF. And how did you have these things falling through when you have sovereign states engaged with the IMF, right? So by which time we get into this first quarter is probably gone. Businesses plan on quarterly basis. How are they going to, benefit? Because I think that the horse has left the barn already in terms of the impact this would have on the economy, except the discipline that it brings to government expenditure.
Okay, so now we've done that. So you still would like to see the terms yourself?
I would like to see the terms. If the terms that would prove to us where we are headed with this. Without the terms, I mean, just having a plain statement saying that this is what it is, we've reached an agreement with them, is not enough. What are the terms?
But would it have...
The pudding is in the eating.
Already, I think the meeting with the IMF board has been moved. They said they have moved it forward. They are bringing it to January because of the assurances that have been given by external creditors. Yeah. So at least we are getting closer to getting the $600 million. That should be some good news.
Nobody is saying the $600 million is ours to grab, right? But with the circumstances surrounding it, will it yield the impact it would have had? Remember, when I was in studio the last time, I mentioned that businesses gauge this money, right? For which time it comes in, the city may have, appreciate itself and perform a bit. So those in the forest market, and as you know, we're an import economy, right? So they tend to probably have their expansions and the likes of that. But we missed a cocoa syndicated loan. We missed an IMF crunch. So what it means is that every forex that was coming into through formal means has disrupted the market. Right. So when we're talking about impact, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
For the 600 million, it's an agreement. We would have it. But as to its impact and whether the market, again, will be able to gauge and trust the confidence of using these as matrices to sort of like gauge their investments and their business expansions is another engagement that we have to have. Or that is something we need to be cognizant of.
And also, what do you think an agreement on the treatment of the debts, especially if we get an opportunity where they push for the repayments and the interest, what would it mean to the Ghanaian economy?
Well, what it means is that we are simply deferring it, okay? And all of these, again, you would never know, would tend to have issues on our debt portfolio because we are deferring debt. And credit rating agencies may have to factor this in determining whether we're credit worthy or not. And what it's going to tell us is that in a very long time, we may not be able to return to the capital markets. And also, some investors may find it a bit wary, right, as to our credit worthiness. And that may probably have some issues because these are not like very positive signs to default on your external debts and we have to restructure. What it means is that we are not prudent managers of the economy. That is a reflection of that, right? To say that, I agree that it's better than nothing, but of course we have to point fingers at where things went wrong and where we could have done better. Right? I am not in the fray of us going for the celebration of, some of these things and call them achievements when they are just boilerplates that ought to happen within any jurisdiction that has defaulted and would have been under an IMF program. Can the government tell us what it has done, or the finance minister, right, to reach where it has reached? No. It is not our initiative. We've been asked to do it by the IMF through their support and through a G20 framework. Within our domestic framework, what have we done?
So you're not seeing a lot of work by the government on the economy domestically. What you're still seeing is that boss taking...
And again, I don't talk about even within the domestic front. I don't speak in a vacuum. I take the 2024 budget. What does it reflect as far as domestic growth is concerned, except a tick box response to an IMF program that we are currently managing? Right. So I need to see confidence. Whether we like it or not, we are before the IMF. So I need to see confidence that any government taking over when the program has ended, that whatever it is, right, we would have yielded some benefits from the IMF program moving forward that would build resilience, that would rebuild our capacity, and that will rebuild our economy and make us attractive and credit-worthy. That is what I want to see. And so I'm challenging the government to communicate that effectively to the good people of Ghana.
Because not too long ago, we were discussing even yesterday. In fact, it was yesterday that we had this whole discussion on the VAT on electricity. Yeah. And everybody keeps saying a lot of the things government is doing will not revive the economy, to collapse it rather.
Yeah, because that the timing of that is even very wrong, right? You are under an IMF program. You are under a shadow load shedding exercise. I've been in the country in the last month or so, and I've been experiencing erratic power supplies, right? At a time when you have the electricity provider, giving free motorbikes in corporate social responsibility to the police service. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing, but all of this is timing and optics, right? And also when we have a near monopoly of ECG and NETCO. So what it means is that where is the competition? If there was greater competition with this introduction, we would have said, okay, well, this is what it is. But the timing is wrong within a near monopoly market, right? So again, you would have people arguing that, probably when we need to, it's better to have the lights on than to have it off. But we are in a prepaid system now. Is that not the case? So if you don't have the money to buy your power supply already, what it means is that your neighbor would have his or her lights on and your lights will be out. So that argument is neither here nor there. So again, timing-wise, we have a problem with that. But again, what happened to, the energy sector levy? It was meant to cure this problem that we are introducing the VAT to, right? So can we bring the sector minister to explain? Can he be brought before Parliament to explain what is happening with ESLA? right? And what we have been doing or using that as part of the energy sector debt sustainability issues, and why we now think that we need to have that. So Parliament needs to do its work in this regard and bring the energy minister and the finance minister to explain this, and possibly the Commissioner General of the GRE as to the justification of this tax that they've slapped on this and what it's going to yield and what the impact would be. Right, because when we know that taxes are inevitable, and that's what commentary would run, that the only definite features in life is death and taxes. Yes, so we agree that we will be paying taxes. Again, after a raft of taxes or bills have been signed by the president in the last few years or so, as far as taxes is concerned. So you realize that one could even hazard a guess that possibly this VAT that has been increased was part of the conditionalities that nobody probably spoke to us about. Why are we doing that now? Right. So we shouldn't leave the market to be very speculative. Again, when we are talking about introducing VAT and all of this, how does it affect industry? An explanation needs to be, put out there, especially so when you're in a struggling economy and we're trying to woo investors.
Now, we're in an election year.
Yes,
so for a lot of people who are not happy with this government, they are looking forward to the alternative. I haven't said everything you said about the economic management and the situation we find ourselves in. I want your honest assessment of this from the opposition leader.
And I'll plead with the teachers' unions, NATS and NAGRAT and UTAG and TEU and all of them. And all of you are clamoring for allowances, increase in your allowances and so on and so forth. Let me caution you that in 2025, inshallah, after we take over, we will show you the books and the finances of this country. And you realize the harm that the MPP administration has done to Ghana's economy. This country is broke. And so we would beg you that when we come into office, give us a bit of a honeymoon. Let's put things in place so that we can bring the economy back on its feet. And when we have done that, we can accede to your demands again. And that's why I'm being very measured in the promises that I make. Because we all know the crisis in which this country has been plunged.
Doc.
Yes.
What do you say?
This is the most honest African opposition leader I've had in a very long while. Because most often than not, you'd see that overpromising keeps happening within our continent when it comes to campaigning, because we want to tell the electorates what to have. So I wish to thank the opposition leader and his advisors for actually heeding to it, because I was in a studio and an economist walked up to me and said, look, if you have access to President John Dramani Mahama, can you tell him, right, to not promise much, to underperform and over-deliver? And I think that's what he's beginning to do, because that is the honest truth. A lot has happened. The reality of the economy would not be seen until a new government is in place, because a lot of masking is happening and a lot of strategic communication is happening. So if he and his team have actually spotted this and they are communicating it right, I would pat them at the back for doing so.
Prof, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
That's Dr. Mahmud Khalid Sharif, who is Associate Professor of Finance and Accounting, Sheffield University. So we'll try and get in touch with, because you mentioned UTAC, TUTAC. Those have been the two biggest pressure groups when it comes